Hey, Sean, welcome to an evening post. Thank you for clicking on this. I appreciate that. It is Sunday night, and if you are about to watch the Super Bowl, or if it's in the middle of happening, or you're probably not turning off the Super Bowl to watch this, so you're watching it later if you're watching this, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about pro sports. I struggle with pro sports and professional athletes and with the standards that are applied to a professional athlete, to an elite competitor, and to the example it sets and the role models that we're left with in a lot of cases because of the system that's in place. Now, I know there are exceptions to this rule, and there are great people out there and great role models, but there's a lot of times where players in the NBA, the NFL, MLB, whatever, there's elite athletes who do ridiculous things both on and off the court. There's people who are domestic abusers, who get in drunk driving accidents, who deal drugs, there's no shortage of things that athletes can do that have no repercussions, or it'll be a fine. It'll be a few $1,000s to somebody who's paid millions. And there's no real disincentive for that behavior. And so often, these players are wound so tight, and it's bred into them for years, like their entire life of this pursuit of being a professional athlete, that this attitude, this competition, this win at all costs that gets beaten into them as a professional, and then obviously before that as a college athlete, potentially as a high school athlete, a grade school, even a little leaguer. The pressure is so great to win and to be the best that it doesn't matter what else you do, and you're going to get yelled at, and it winds people up, and we don't do enough to take care of people and to help them balance these emotions. The other thing is on field and on the court, when if there's some play and a player pushes another player, or baseball, the bench is empty and they punch each other, and then they go back to the dugout and the game goes on, and I don't know any other job. What kind of an example is that? I'm a video producer. I can't be filming. Maybe I'm really in the zone. I'm really focused. I'm getting the shot and someone bumps into me. I can't turn around, punch that person, and then go back to work the next day or pay a little fine and go back. Like, I will never get hired again. I'll be fired on the spot, and I will never get hired again. But we have this standard in professional sports of just sort of understanding, like, hey, these people are so competitive. Like, this is a part of it. They yell, they scream. It's every part of their being. And because that is the standard, and that's the understanding of what it's like to be an elite performer, we start treating our college athletes that way, and we expect that from them. We have coaches who are, these hard-ass coaches, and it's tough love, and they're screaming and they're yelling. And we have high school coaches, and I watched my high school football coach the team. I didn't play. I was in the band. I've also coached high school ultimate frisbee, which is a very different sport. And even then, I've seen parents come to the games and yell. And then I've been to Little League games with like 5 and 6 year olds where I'm watching parents yell at their kids and yell at volunteer officials. And I don't know what that trains them for, unless they're becoming this elite athlete that's going to go to the NFL or the NBA, wherever. Even then, all that lesson is doing is making somebody have an inferiority complex, get overly competitive, whatever, that they're not going to take onto the field. They're going to take that into whatever job they pursue. That 99% of people who don't become professional athletes after playing Little League, they're just going to be overly competitive coworkers and needlessly fierce and aggressive teammates and parents and brothers and sisters and families. And so there is no disincentive for management to hire these people. When one of these players does something, as long as they still win, the owners of these teams, the managers of these teams, have no repercussions. Like, if you can hire somebody who is an awful person, who's going to punch people on the field, maybe they'll get suspended a little bit, but they're going to get you the Super Bowl. There's no reason you shouldn't hire that person. As a decision maker in an unbiased world, there's no reason you shouldn't hire them. You're going to win. It's going to help your team. It's going to help your city, blah, blah, blah. If there were some sort of disincentive for a manager to say, hey, if we hire somebody that we know is a hothead, that we know is going to cause problems and be a butthead off the court and a butthead on the field, then maybe we shouldn't hire them because we're going to get fined, or we're going to lose our draft spot, or we're going to be ineligible from the Super Bowl because one of our players did something. I think if there were repercussions like that, it would make players hold themselves to a different standard. It would make players hold each other accountable, and it would make the managers make sure that they hire the right people, because as it stands now, there's no real drawback. You pay a little fine and you move on. And I think we could have such a different world if, instead of us teaching our college athletes and our youth, hey, win at all costs, whatever it takes, that's how you get to be the best. But instead, like politics or like most other industries, if you want to be the best at something, if you want to get to a certain point in a certain company or whatever, you have to be a good person. And if someone digs up dirt on you, it's not going to be good. And I think if we had athletes understand, like, hey, if you really want to be in the NFL, if you really, really want to be, a professional baseball player, a basketball player, whatever, then you need to know now that you will never drink and drive, because if you do, your chances are over. Or if you ever have a domestic violence situation or something like that, your chances are over. And I think if people knew that going into it, it would affect how our high schoolers behave, how our youth behaves, how our society behaves. And it could have this ripple effect on what it's like to be competitive, and how if you can shake hands at the end of it and enjoy the sport instead of only enjoying it if you crush someone, it could be a much, much different world with much, much different role models. So I don't know what those disincentives look like. I don't know if this is completely ridiculous, but I'm open to any ideas you have. If I'm way off on this one, feel free to tell me. That's all I got. Mask on, chin up, one more week of these videos, and then we're done with daily videos for a while. See you tomorrow. Good night.